Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zachary Ruger, surprising you with all sorts of new talking points, discussions, and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. How's that intro sound? I like it. I was debating testing out new intros here and there, kind of see what fits, and I kind of like it. Kind of incorporates the title and discusses what we're talking about. I think I might add of sorts saying what's surprising is going to be on the episode, but we're all about trying out new things, keeping this rolling. All right, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot to talk about. The main event, of course, being the UFC Fight Night preview, Holly Holmes versus Myra Bueno Silva. That'll be the final thing we talk about, but we have lots more to go over, from Kevin Lee retiring to Secret Invasion on Disney Plus, the PFL signing with USADA, Fury and Ngannou, their boxing bout was just announced, and even talking about The Ultimate Fighter. All right, so without ado, let's dive in. It's been a pretty good week. I hope everyone's had an amazing week. The podcast has been doing pretty well. Instagram page up and running. Plugging in on TikTok, plugging in on Twitter. We're trying to go all around. Before we get into anything, the UFC rankings actually did update this past Tuesday, and I got a couple things right. In fact, I think I got just about everything right. Here are the main takeaways I got. All right. Number one, Volkanovski is now the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world as he passes John Bones Jones. I correctly predicted it, man. With a performance like that, being more active than John Jones has been, without a doubt, Alexander Volkanovski deserves that number one spot. Pantoja, debuting at number 9 in the pound-for-pound, correctly predicted that. Makes complete sense. What I sort of predicted was Robert Worker getting bumped off and Moreno going down, but Brandon Moreno drops all the way to number 15. That is very disrespectful. Why is he behind not Robert Worker, Dustin Poirier and Jamal Hill? All right, that doesn't make sense to me at all. Even Alex Pereira. All right, come on, Moreno hasn't been finished. This is ridiculous. The other three big ones, Dricus du Plessis does move to the number one contender spot in the middleweight division. I love it. He'll be fighting Adesanya at UFC 293. That'll probably be announced in the coming weeks, I assume, without a doubt. Unless they throw a curveball, but I doubt they will. At the light heavyweight division, Alonzo Menfield, correctly, as I may say, I predicted, takes Jimmy Crute's spot at number 14. I still like a Dominic Reyes fight. I'll be adamant about that. And last but not least, in the lightweight division, Dan Hooker actually moves up to 10, passing Grant Dawson as well. I think he should fight up. He can fight anyone. I saw someone pitch Rafael Fiziev. I think that is a very good option for what could be next for Dan Hooker. But yeah, that's all we got about UFC 290. We're going to leave it in the past, but it was memorable, best event of the year. And I'll be excited to go over it at our end of the year show in December. Stay tuned for that. It's like half a year away. All right. But let's go over some. Do I call it unfortunate? We'll just start out with a little appetizer of sorts of topics as Kevin Lee retires. Kevin Lee, MMA fighter, fought in the UFC, went 11-8 with 3 performance bonuses. He actually fought Tony Ferguson for the interim UFC lightweight championship in 2017. A 19-8 MMA career in total with 11 finishes. Only age 30. And he's calling it quits, but I would not say he ended on the best run of sorts. He had that win over Diego Sanchez in Eagle FC, which was Khabib's promotion. I don't know if that's even continuing. But his UFC run certainly did not go well. The Renat Fakhreddinov loss, very bad. Lost to Daniel Rodriguez. Lost to Charles Oliveira. Unfortunate stuff, but that Gregor Giuseppe KO will always remain in our hearts. Kevin Lee, we appreciate you, but your time has sadly come. All right. Let's talk about a big one in the, not mixed martial arts, but in the boxing community, as Tyson Fury. If you don't know who Tyson Fury is, he is a massive boxing star. Just I think he might be approaching 40-0. He's undefeated, never lost, only has 1 draw against Deontay Wilder. They have one of the greatest trilogies of all time in combat sports. And he'll be taking on Francis Ngannou, if that rings a bell. It should, because he's the former UFC heavyweight champion. Wow, this is huge. I didn't actually think this fight was going to happen. I mean, you hear rumors about it, but it's actually going down October 28th in Saudi Arabia. I mean, they have all the big events in Saudi Arabia now. WWE does it. UFC does it. Boxing does it. Next thing you know, we're going to be getting NFL and NBA games in Saudi Arabia. Heck, they might even bring hockey. We'll put a hockey rink in the middle of the desert. How's that sound? Saudi Arabia, just loaded with billionaires. I believe it's all from oil, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know for sure. I have to do a little investigation of sorts. I've been thinking about doing maybe a conspiracy theory episode of the Surprise Gem podcast. That'd be a big surprise, but we'll just leave that untouched at the moment. Don't really know the pay yet for this fight. I've been told that Francis Ngannou will be making more than he ever made in the UFC. Could be looking at 10 million, 20 million, a lot of millions for Francis Ngannou. As for Tyson Fury, probably in the 50 million range. I mean, he's on Floyd Mayweather level of stardom. I don't know if he's as popular, but I think he is. Certainly in the UK, he is massive. His brother Tommy recently beat Jake Paul in, I believe that would have been April. It was an okay fight, but Tyson Fury much more renowned than Tommy Fury. 10-round fight, so we'll see how Ngannou's gas tank holds up. I mean, 10 rounds. Let's say it's even a 2-minute rounds each, which I would assume would be 2-minute rounds each for a 10-minute fight. 10-round fight, corrected. That'd be a 20-minute fight, which I suppose, it's a bit different from MMA, where your championship fights, you have 5-minute rounds. Anything else is just 3 5-minute rounds. But for boxing, I mean, I've seen 2-minute rounds and I've seen 3-minute rounds. So very interested to see what goes down. Tyson Fury's last win came in December of 2022. So it'll have been just under a year. He had a TKO win over Derek Chiozza in London. I actually did catch that fight. It was kind of interesting. Kind of looked like a shove or something, but he was going to beat Derek nonetheless. And as for Ngannou, he has not fought since January 2022 at UFC 270. Trust me, I remember that fight. He won a unanimous decision against Cyril Gane and has not fought since. So it'll be close to a 2-year layoff for Ngannou when he fights. But I wish him nothing but the best. I've been told they will not be stripping Tyson Fury of his WBC, I believe, for any of my boxing fans out there, WBC belt. He will not be stripped of that. He will be able to keep it, which I suppose will be pretty good. An early prediction I could make as of right now, because I will definitely be watching this. This is very interesting. Definitely captivates my attention. But I do not think Ngannou can beat him. All right, I truly believe Ngannou is a one-punch fighter. Now, in his win over Cyril Gane, he showed grappling, but that won't do him any good here. All right, that will not do him any good. And I could see a round 4 or 5 TKO win for Tyson Fury. That's correct. Tyson Fury will be my prediction, but I mean, Ngannou's one-punch power. I mean, you eat a gut shot. You eat a shot like that, and you are just going out. You are going out, man. That'll take the wind out of you. But that's for a future. That's for a future time. It's in October. I mean, I turned 21 in October, so October is going to be a very, very fun month indeed. I noticed I haven't really been plugging myself as of sorts, so I actually took note of some of my socials. You can follow me on Verdict MMA. If anyone doesn't know what Verdict is, it is a site where you can predict UFC fights. You can actually enter tournaments and win money. I don't personally. Not very good at sports gambling. Do not take my picks. I compare myself to, what's his name? Trent, the Fade God or something. Book it with Trent. I think that's it, actually. Yeah, on Verdict, I am ZTR 2002, my initials and my birth year. That same goes for my TikTok. Not as big on TikTok. I upload a bit here and there, trying to stay consistent. But certainly not as much as I am on Verdict. Add me as a friend, and we can square off and see who knows their fights better on Instagram. And actually, no, Twitter is just my name, Zach Ruger. we'll just repost episodes of the Surprise Jab podcast there. And as for my Instagram, Zach_Ruger. And we also have the Instagram for the Surprise Jab podcast. It's just the name, no spaces. Very happy, going to be kicking off, trying to post every single day, especially when episodes drop. And I have been considering setting up my phone to film. Don't know how the quality would be, but it would certainly be something interesting if we could go live on YouTube, live on maybe even Twitch. I don't really know about Twitch, but we shall see. So, had to drop the plug, had to make sure everyone's following me, knowing about everything. And please let me know what you like and dislike, because one of the most important things is criticism, whether good or bad. And I want any feedback I can get, because I want to improve this, all right? I want to know talking points. I want to know if I'm too close to the mic, too far away from the mic, just anything, all right? And I'll appreciate any of the feedback. But yes, let's move into another topic. Speaking of PFL, if you didn't know, Francis Ngannou is a part of PFL, which is why we're going to bridge over as... Oh, I should probably talk about what the PFL is for anyone who's not a huge MMA fan. The PFL is the Professional Fighters League, I believe. They have how do you even describe it? A season. They have a season of sorts. You get 2 qualifying matchups. Then you go to the playoffs. Then I believe you have a quarterfinals, semifinals championship, or maybe it's just semifinals championship. I think it's just semifinals championship. Excuse me. And basically, on one card, they have like 8 or 9 championship fights. It's actually kind of entertaining. It costed money last year. They put it on pay-per-view, which was a very bad marketing move, as the years before it was not, and it was much more available to everyone to listen to watch. And for some reason, they decided not to do that. But the PFL has recently been in the news. Their playoffs is kicking off, but that's not why they're in the news, as they've just partnered with USADA's anti-doping agency. If anyone doesn't know, that's what the UFC uses. It's also been in the news as Conor McGregor has not entered into it, thus not making him eligible to fight this year. But I don't know if he can find a loophole. We'll see, but the PFL was recently forced to suspend 4 of its top fighters. One being Rob Wilkinson, who was the light heavyweight champion from their last season, 2022, and their 2021 heavyweight champ, Bruno Capelloza. Very big suspensions they had to hand out for banned substances. And Thiago Santos of UFC fame and Krzysztof Jotko of UFC notability also suspended. I mean, come on, guys. Come on. I don't even think I take supplements. Really, I don't. Maybe some vitamins here and there. But how can you be taking these knowing that you're not supposed to? Or maybe they're accidentally taking them with something else. I think that could be the case. Or they have coaches telling them it's okay. But at the end of the day, you're jeopardizing yourself. And you're, quite frankly, not going anywhere. Because you're getting suspended. Then you're not allowed to fight. You're not making money. And you can't earn any more fame. So very embarrassing stuff from those guys. But I'm sure the PFL will work this out. And we'll be back. Has this season been good? A lot of upsets. And the one thing about upsets in MMA compared to... Actually, this goes for every single major sports league. Is that the front office, all right, we're talking Roger Goodell, we're talking Adam Silver, we're talking Dana White, all right? They want the top teams, the top fighters, to fight each other, all right? To play each other. And I don't blame them. Can anyone blame them? It makes them more money, which is their end game, is profit. But when you get upsets like Jesus Pineda knocking out Brendan Loney, who was last year's, lightweight champ in the PFL, it kind of dampens their mood, because they're like, okay, now we have this irrelevant guy fighting for a belt, and no one really cares. And I'd almost compare it to, I'm going to probably bring this up as a reference for Alexander Pantoja, as he doesn't have much personality. All right, we'll see how his title reign goes. But, I mean, the thing about Leon Edwards, he had no personality, and he had to create one, all right? The pound-for-pound headshot dead, iconic. So, we'll see how PFL does. They don't necessarily have the hugest names, but they do have Francis Ngannou under their banner. But He is not fighting under them, so I do not consider him a fighter. They also have signed Jake Paul, and Jake Paul has not fought. He actually, I was going to bring that up. He's actually taken on Nate Diaz, I believe, in August. What is it, August? I don't even know, August 26th, maybe? Something like that, I believe. So random. He's definitely knocking out Nate Diaz or just beating him silly through 8 to 10 rounds. Nate Diaz, I don't know why you left the UFC to go for boxing. If it's for money, good for you. But at the end of the day, I question how much I can get beat up. How much money will it take for me to get beat up and knocked out? Probably a lot, because that's humiliating. Think about Ben Askren. Everyone will remember that. Everyone remembers Ben Askren. And if you don't, look up him versus Jorge and him versus Jake Paul. Very embarrassing stuff. On another note, something we covered on the last podcast was the Ultimate Fighter. We were talking about how McGregor is 0-6 and how what if he doesn't win at all the rest of the season, and by gosh darn it, Jason Knight finishes. Oh gosh, what was his name? Louise? I don't even remember. He submits Conor McGregor's guy in, was it even a minute? All right, very, very embarrassing. McGregor falls to 0-7. That's right, 0-7. The final fight will be next week for the opening round before we get into the semifinals. I believe they actually have a bracket set up on Wikipedia. I don't know if it's accurate or not, but we'll talk about that in a second. But at the end of the episode, McGregor did bring up to Dana White what will happen. And Dana's in there next to Hunter, and he goes, I don't know. This never happened before. They don't know what to do. And quite frankly, they mentioned sending fighters over to the other team. That doesn't even make sense. They've been beefing with McGregor all season long, and it just wouldn't, I feel like it wouldn't gel. It wouldn't even make sense, all right? It's never happened before, so all hope for Team McGregor rests on the hands of Rico Di Sacalio. Sounds Italian. He'll take on Hunter Azure. I recognize that name. I don't necessarily know his record, and I'm not going to look at it, because I don't really care that much, but we'll see. That episode airs next Tuesday, so is that, we're like 5 days away or something from it. I'll be interested to see. McGregor's actually lost a lot of weight. I saw a before and after photo of him from episode 1 to episode 7. Training, all right, maybe even a little dieting has kept him a bit more slim. Happy to see it, and I do not hold hope out for December. I'll be very surprised. People can come back to this and be like, oh, you were saying he isn't going to fight, and he is. I do not see him fighting. And I could even see them holding him out till UFC 300. I think they could be that bold as to save McGregor. But that's just how it goes. All right, the final fight is next weekend. Prediction, I'm going with Rico. All right, I was going to say Hunter Azure. I fumbled my words and decided to go with Rico Di Sacalio. All right. But as for the bracket, all right, here are your current matchups. I would say which team these fighters are from, but we all know they're from Team Chandler, so no need to say that. All right, in bantamweight, you'll have Cody Gibson taking on Timur Valiev. Prediction, Timur Valiev by decision. All right. The winner of Hunter and Rico will fight Brad Katona. And depending on how this fight goes, I will probably go with Brad Katona because he's actually pretty good. All right, then moving on to lightweight, you have Roosevelt Roberts with the best finish of the season. And he'll be taking on Kurt Holloway. And I'm going with Roosevelt by round 1 knockout. All right, knocking with Roosevelt. Then we have Jason Knight and Austin Hubbard. That's probably the closest fight of the season, honestly, on paper. Jason Knight, Austin Hubbard. I don't even know who to go with. I might go with Jason Knight, honestly. But we'll see. We shall see. The Ultimate Fighter wraps up in August, I believe. So we'll be checking it out, but I don't hold too much hope for McGregor's team. But I'll still root them on. I still hope that his boys can get done. All right. And speaking of boys who are done, we lost a UFC fighter today, guys. All right. He didn't die. Nothing drastic, but he was cut. A legend of the UFC. Zhalgas Zhumagulov. All right. He is an illustrious 1-6 in the UFC. That's right. A professional record of 14 wins, 9 losses. All right. Comical, all right, is Zhalgas. He infamously lost 3 split decisions to end his UFC career. In fact, lost a lot of decisions. But I mean, he fought Ralim Paiva, Amir Albazi, Manel Cape. Some tough competition, but people notoriously think he won the Charles Johnson and Jeff Molina fights and that he was robbed. He was not robbed against Joshua Van. Joshua Van won their last time they fought. But as for Zalagas, with his Paddy Pimblett-looking haircut, he will head back to, gosh, where is he from? Kyrgyzstan or something? I can't remember. But as for Zalagas, he was cut today. Goodbye to him. I don't know, whenever I think of like Kyrgyzstan or like Tajikistan, I always think of like Borat. If anyone's seen that movie with Sacha Baron Cohen, the first and second one, how he's from some nation over there, and those are some hilarious movies. I encourage people to check those out. Definitely graphic, but it's all real. They filmed it with real people, which makes it even more entertaining. So that's all we got before we talk about the UFC Fight Night predictions. And we're going to go over the whole card because it's been constantly changing, so that could take a while. But I have one more talking point, and that talking point is Secret Invasion, the TV show out by Marvel right now, starring Nick Fury, also known as Samuel L. Jackson, the legend. The absolute legend that is Samuel L. Jackson. 4 episodes out currently. I've seen, essentially, I'm pretty sure, every spoiler. But I'm going to attempt to watch them all. I actually saw the first episode. I kind of skimmed through it. I think, spoiler alert, anyone should skip this part if you haven't seen it. All right, 3, 2, 1. I saw that Maria Hill dies, which was very shocking. I've also seen that Talos dies. I've seen that, I'm pretty sure, Rhodey, War Machine, is a Skrull. But I'll have to watch the 4 episodes, then rank them for you guys. But yeah, I just haven't really been watching too many Marvel Disney Plus shows. They've been kind of bad, and I've heard mixed reviews on this one. But we'll have to check it out. Maybe I'll watch that tonight. We'll see. All right, we're going to take a quick intermission for you guys. It'll be no time, and then we're going to go over the entire UFC Fight Night. Holly Holmes versus Mayra Bueno Silva. We'll be back in a second. Thank you. All right, and we are back. All right, I scanned over the card real quick, collected some of my thoughts, and I'm ready to dive in. It's not the best card, but like I said, on every card, you can find some positives and some minuses. All right, you got to find the good in everything. So let's dive in, because that's essentially what made me want to start this podcast, is just going over fight nights. So if you like that, let me know. If you don't, then skip this segment, because I'm going to do this every single week. All right? So let me move the mic into position, and let's... Okay, as I assume everyone can hear that there's a cutoff there. That cutoff was actually the audio cutting out, as I had accidentally muted my mic when I went to move it, and it did not pick up any of my prelim picks. I just rattled off 10 minutes worth of useless prelim picks, and the audio did not pick up any of it. But every show has technical issues. I wish I was joking. I wish I was just saying this so I didn't have to cover the prelims, but oh man, that sucks. That sucks. But it seems almost fitting that I only cared about the main card, and the main card's the only part that will make it into this podcast, right? So if anyone's pulling up UFC stats, looking at the card, here are my official prelim picks. Aline Perez over Ashley Evans Smith by submission. Alexander Munoz over Carl Deaton by submission. Azat Maksum over Tyson Nam by decision. Evan Elder over Genaro Valdez by we'll go by decision. Mel Quizal Costa over Austin Lingo by decision. Victoria Dudakova over Estela Nunes by TKO. And Melsik Bagdasarian over Tucker Lutz by knockout. Wow. I actually gave an analysis. I actually put my thoughts together. And sadly, no one will hear them, because I'm not going back over them. These prelims were brutal to cover, and sadly, we will not be able to hear about them. All right. But we move into the main card. I'm not writing this down in the official picks book. If anyone's listened to past episodes, you know I have an official picks book since 2020. I've had it, where I write down all my picks. And as for the main card, let's get into my unofficial picks at the moment, but they're probably not going to change, so no one needs to get too worried. And if you check out my verdict, you can see my official picks before the fight, all right? Let's dive in. Start off in the lightweight division. The lightweight division, so deep. So deep. We have Nazim Sadykhov taking on Terrence McKinney. Let's see. Nazim is 8-1, 5'10", 155 pounds, 69-inch reach. Terrence McKinney, 13-5, 5'10", 73 inches. So 4 inches in reach is the only notable difference here. Nazim only holds one loss professionally. As for his UFC, wow, his nickname is the Black Wolf. It's a very nice nickname. As for his UFC tenure, he is coming off the Contender Series, where he got a round 3 knockout. And he finished Evan Elder, who's fighting on the prelims, via injury earlier this year. So, Nazim, currently on a minimum 2-fight win streak, could most definitely more, take on Terrence McKinney. And Terrence is a staple now of the UFC lightweight division. So entertaining. Truly, truly ride or die. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Is of his 18 professional fights, none have gone the distance. That's insane. He actually lost on the Contender Series by a flying knee. Then his debut had a 7-second knockout of Matt Favola. Then had a rear naked chokehold win over Fares Siam. Then got knocked out by Drew Dober in a round. That was one of the craziest rounds. UFC Fight Night, Santos versus Ankalaev, March 12th, 2022. Go watch the 3 minutes and 17 seconds fight of Terrence McKinney and Drew Dober. Absolute madness, right? Then he picked up a win over Eric Gonzalez, and earlier this year, he got brutally knocked out by Ismail Bonfim. Wow. He put him to sleep with a flying knee. That was on UFC 283 on the prelims. I encourage you all to go look that up. If I could show clips, I would show that clip. It was brutal, right? What I see from Nazim is he was actually dropped in his Evan Elder fight. So we're actually going to go Terrence McKinney by knockout. I like it. Maybe even submission. We'll see. I could see him getting a knockdown, then strapping up a submission, but I'm going to go by knockout. I really like that value. Okay. Next up, women's featherweight. Don't even know how this is still a division. I thought they eliminated this division, but I guess not. As Chelsea Chandler is back to take on Norma Dumont. Chelsea Chandler recently in the news this week as she announced that Ronda Rousey was making a comeback to women's featherweight. That statement has since been disproven, but nonetheless, she made it. And it came right after Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou was announced. So did Dana text her and be like, hey, why don't you drop some big bombshell thing to maybe draw the people away from Francis Ngannou? But I don't know. Chelsea debuted last year on my birthday. They had a fight night on my birthday last year, October 1st, 2022. It sucked, so we won't even talk about it. But she finished Julia Storyalenko in round 1. If anyone wants to see Julia, what a weird name, fight again, so we're taking on Molly McCann next weekend at UFC Fight Night, Aspinall Tibera in London. Love the London cards, right? But back to this event, as Chelsea Chandler will be taking on Norma Dumont. Norma, she actually had a Fight Night win against Aspen Ladd. Gosh, was that last year? I can't even remember. Was that last year? No, it's 2021. Okay. Norma Dumont, 9-2. Wow, such a decision fighter. Gosh, I don't even know who to pick. This fight card's so bad. This is actually a terrible Fight Night card. We'll go with whoever the underdog is. So, let's pick Norma Dumont. Wow. I hate to be mean to women's MMA, but they just don't put on the best of fights, all right? Next up, middleweight. What was originally supposed to be the co-main event is now down to the number 3 spot. When we get to the co-main, we'll talk about that. But Albert Durov will be taking on June Young Park in the middleweight division. Albert, I thought was an absolute dog before he actually lost. What did he lose? He lost to Joaquin Buckley via injury, so I guess not too bad. Coming off a win over Chidi Nchukwu by split decision earlier this year. His neck crank on the Contender Series was absolutely dirty. He's 16-4, 5'11", 75-inch reach, and he takes on Jun Young Park, who a lot of the MMA pages I follow on Instagram have Jun Young as one of the better unranked middleweights. 16-5, he's on a 3-fight win streak. Last 2 fights have ended by rear naked chokehold. As far as his UFC tenure goes, he only holds 2 losses. So, Jun Young, very good, but I'm rocking with Albert Durov. I really think Albert Durov is super good. I really do. All right. A dream fight for me would be Albert Durov versus, oh my gosh, who was, his name's on the tip of my tongue. He fought on Volkanovski and Brian Ortega's Ultimate Fighters. He's Andre Petrovsky. Andre Petrovsky, so talented. I love Andre Petrovsky. That would be a dream fight for me. All right. Moving into our final 3 fights of the night. At lightweight, Ottoman Azatir takes on Francisco Prado. Ottoman, man, coming off a loss to Matt Frivola in 2022. He was knocked out in round 1. But before that, he had 2 round 1 knockouts. So he's 13-1, an absolute dog. He takes on Francisco Prado, who I don't know too much about Francisco, but I do know he lost his UFC debut to Jamie Malarkey. Got badly out-grappled, so they both suffered their first losses last time out for Prado and Azatir. So I would say Azatir by split decision, just because why not? All right. And then after, I guess Norma Dumont's ranked at women's bantamweight, but that doesn't count. After this whole card, we get to the co-main, where we finally have a ranked opponent, all right? Jack Della Maddalena, I mentioned him on the last 2 episodes. He is finally back. He's finally fighting. He was supposed to fight Sean Brady. He says he still wants to, but he steps down short notice this week. Currently ranked number 14 at welterweight, definitely on the way up. He takes on Basile. Let me get this. Basile Hafayez, all right? Basile, 5'11", 72-inch reach, fighting out of Pennsylvania. He is currently on a 2-fight win streak, coming off a big knockout in February on Fury FC. He was in the main event. But he takes on Jack Della Maddalena, and I looked up. Jack Della Maddalena is 14-2, but get this. He started out his career 0-2, so he's on a 14-fight win streak. In the UFC, 4-fight win streak. All knockouts in round 1. Actually, a submission win last time against Randy Brown, even though he knocked him down. So, Jack has not lost in 6 years. Very good in the UFC so far. Yet to have a boring fight. I'm sorry, Basile, but Jack Della Maddalena by round 2 knockout. I think he can make it past round 1, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, and yeah, we get into the main event. This has not been the most fun card to cover, man. I mean, there's just not that many good fights. And let's get into the main event. All right, number 3 ranked Holly Holmes will be taking on number 10 ranked Mayra Bueno Silva in the women's bantamweight division. And all week, I was thinking about picking Holly Holmes. Actually, ever since this fight was announced, I just kind of wrote off Mayra Bueno Silva. But then I realized I already don't care about it, so I'm going to root for the underdog. So I'm picking Mayra Bueno Silva to win by knockout. But let me just give you a perspective as how much of an underdog she is. All right, Mayra, 2 inches shorter than Holly Holmes, 3 inches less in reach, has 8 less professional fights. But she is super good. She's on a little win streak here. And how about for Mayra Bueno Silva? She beats 3 opponents, earns a fight of the night, a performance bonus, 2 finishes, and finds herself, no, all the people she beat aren't that good, and she finds herself in a fight night against Holly Holmes. So, very interested to see how she does. Her 2 losses are to Manon Fiorot and a fight of the night loss to Marina Moroz. So, she's actually a submission specialist, which makes it more fun to root for a knockout, all right? As for Holly Holmes, I mean, not much to say for Holly Holmes. If anyone follows MMA, UFC, they know Holly Holmes, a legend, beat Ronda Rousey for the belt back in 2015, then lost it to Miesha Tate, then lost championship fight against Jermaine Durandamy, then lost a fight against Chris Cyborg for the belt, and then lost against Amanda Nunes. So she's actually 0-4 in championship fights since beating Ronda Rousey. In recent years, she's currently 3-1 since 2020, coming off a win over Yana Santos earlier this year. And I thought she beat Ketlin Vieira in their May 21st, 2022 fight. So, Holly Holmes, not much to say about you. As for my Brazil, not much to say about her. But, yeah, a very lackluster card this weekend, I will say. But it can easily be made up for with good fights, fight of the nights. I mean, I'm trying to find the words to like keep this going, but it's just bad. It's just not a good card. So I kind of hope I'm proved wrong, but we'll see. All right, I'm sad this segment was cut short, but is what it is. All right, it happens. Technical difficulties, and we'll improve. All right, still working on filming, getting a little studio set up. We have a makeshift studio in my basement, but so far that's all we got. Right. Let's see. Any upcoming events in NFL world, NBA world? As for MLB, I don't really follow MLB. If anyone wants to let me know how the Minnesota Twins are doing, that's my team. I claim them. Right. I don't even know who won the last World Series. Was it the Royals? Maybe I'm a couple years behind. I don't know. But, yeah, that's probably where we're going to end the podcast for today. Not the most exciting episode. I'd say the highlight for me is going to be starting Secret Invasion. Looking very much forward to that. Looking to bring you future episodes about maybe some conspiracy theories, some movie reviews, ranking stuff. And we're actually going to do an episode about how to get into UFC, along with how to get into fantasy football. Lots of fun topics, lots of fun things. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining with me as we went over the card and went over other topics. New episodes will be coming out in the coming days. All right, we're just gonna keep growing this, and as always, if you want to be a special guest, let me know. I will have anyone on. All right, we can talk about anything. I will definitely find some talking points. All right, thank you all for surprising with me. I gotta think of a cool outro. I got nothing right now. All right, everyone, have an amazing weekend. Jesus loves you all. God bless. Goodbye.